Welcome back to Y&R For Life, where we talk about all things Y&R related. We talk about what's going on, my predictions, what I think's going to happen. Hey, we even talk about fashion on this show because I'm a big time fashion girl, so we got to spill the tea about that. If you're new to this channel, my question is, what took you so long to get here? And if you are returning, what's up? Long time no see. This week, a little bit on the dragging alongside, if you ask me, like again. And by the way, don't mind this band-aid. I literally cut myself a little while ago pretty deep with tinfoil. Yes, tinfoil. Oh boy, this is what ends up happening. Anyway, so if you see the band-aid, that's what it's for. Because I talk with my hands a lot, right? Who doesn't? Okay, so this week, again, a little bit just dragging along, a little bit sleepy. To be honest with you, I kind of couldn't really keep track of all what was going on because it was like, it seemed like a bunch of stuff, but it really wasn't. I think they were just jumping back and forth from people to people for no apparent reason. I don't know. Anyway, but we will get into that very shortly. So, a couple of disclaimers. If you don't want to know what's going on, you kind of want to get caught up on your own, this might not be what you want to see or hear, but I am so grateful that you are here. And if I happen to not mention a particular thing, it could be because I plumb forgot, or it really just wasn't newsworthy in my opinion. So it is what it is. Nature of the beast, that's what I like to say. And lastly, if you like this type of content, you like what you see, you like what you hear, it would be so kind if you hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget that bell notification so that you don't miss a single video that I post here on Y&R For Life. All right, let's get into the whole set of nothingness, if you ask me. All right, so at the beginning of the week, we saw, and we're going to talk about Audra, Nate, Nathaniel, and the whole mess that Audra has gotten herself into. All right, so Audra, as you know, she accepted this job offer from Victor, but she had not told Nate. Womp, 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 big mistake. So she plans this, albeit elaborate, at-home, I guess, shindig, if you will. So there was champagne, there was like soft lighting, candles. Apparently she made some like insane dinner and some music. All right, so she ends up summoning Nathaniel back to his own house, mind you, because she's like, yeah, you can come home now. All right. Guess I'll go back to my own home. So just before he gets there, he had been talking to Holden. Now, Holden, he's doing a whole lot of nothing, if you ask me. He's been constantly sitting at a bar drinking, like a drinky drink. Apparently it's called, what is it, a Vespa? Whatever. And yeah, that's all he's been doing. So he had his little words with Nate, trying to needle him a little bit. Nate's like, what's up with this? This is nonsense, whatever. So he basically talked about Audra, of course, and said, you got a good one. Hope you can hold on to her, that kind of thing. So Nate's like, wait a minute. Do you think I'm like threatened by you, that I'm jealous of you? Because like, sorry, buddy. Sorry about your luck. Anyway, that was... So Nate goes home and he sees all this, this big soiree for him, if you will. And he is like totally into it. He's feeling himself. And Audra, you looked like you had something to say. And again, I guess he actually knew that you were supposed to say something, but you kind of looked like a deer in headlights, like to the point where you had been talking to yourself and then you were going to send Sally this ridiculous voicemail. Like, Audra. Okay, so Nate's like, what do you have to tell me? And she's like, can we dance? So, they're dancing away, blah, blah, blah. And then she basically still doesn't say anything. And then they go upstairs, do the deed, come back down, and they're at the table. So eventually she spews out what it is. And Nate's like, you expect me to go on board with this? Now, he didn't say that like verbatim, if you will, but that's what he was basically saying. Like, you expect me to agree with this? This guy did you dirty already. He like wiped the floor with you. And now you're going to go and work for him? Doot, doot, doot. Now, I agree with Nate on this. And I said this before. Why would you go back to somebody who's done you dirty? That's like, that makes no sense. But she's allegedly desperate for a job because she's basically been at Nate's house. She's always having a drink. So I don't, how is she supporting herself? Maybe it's through Nate. I don't know. But Nate's like, yeah, sorry. So eventually Nate's like, you know what? You're a big girl. If that's what you want to do, whatever, man. But I would watch your back. She's like, well, I made sure that I'm going to have a contract that's ironclad. And he's like, well, I'd like to look over that if you don't mind. She's like, of course. And I'll get a lawyer. Basically, I don't trust you. You were a doctor. What business information could you actually go, like expertise, if you will? Nate, you don't have any business acumen, but okay, whatever. We're supposed to believe that you somehow learned along the way. All right, that's just my 2 cents. So yeah, she's going around with her nose up in the air, walking around like her, don't stink. And yeah, to the point where she even because they end up having a nightcap, if you will. You got to go out the house to have, don't you have like a bar of drinks there, Nate? Just make something different. I don't know. But no, they go on out to the jazz lounge. And who do they see? Well, let's segue into Kyle, shall we? They see Kyle and Claire all cozy up. Now, backstory, Claire had been with Holden at the bar because she was waiting for Kyle to show up. I'm prediction. She is going to somehow dipsy doodle with Holden. I can feel it in the air. Why does she always seem to be around when Holden? But again, Holden doesn't move. He stays at a bar. And so, bound to see him. All right, so Kyle had come in, puffed up his chest. Like, that's my woman. Roar, roar, roar. And Claire's like, oh, this is Holden. This is Holden Novak, Kyle. And Kyle Abbott, he's my boyfriend. Okay, Claire. Don't know for how long. Just putting it out there. All right, so back to the jazz lounge. So Kyle and Claire were there, having, their little drinky drink, cozying up all nice and snugly together. And then in walks Audra and Nathaniel. And Audra does this, go around all these tables to get to Kyle. Why Nate followed her is beyond me. I would have been like, you know what, girlfriend, you on your own. I'll go catch us a table. You meet me when you're ready. I would not be standing up behind her. And if I did, I'd been like, Kyle, I got nothing to do with this. It's her, not me. I don't care if I'm the boyfriend. I'm not getting my feet wet in this, and I'm not getting my hands dirty. Sorry. But she decides to needle Kyle and basically like, you know what, Kyle, I would just watch it because, basically I'm coming. She's coming for him or whatever the dickens she said. I don't know. But quite frankly, when Audra speaks half the time, I'm not listening. She's just always into herself and, you know, don't care for her character. Never have. Can't say that I ever will. She had a bright, shining moment when she was like, very almost daughter like to Amy. But other than that, she could go. Anyway, so Claire was like, Kyle, what's that all about? And he's like, look, I ain't got nothing with Audra. I care about her as much as she cared about me. She was just a fling. Kyle, I kind of think you cared for her more than you're saying, because when she basically like blew things up in the air where you were concerned, yeah, you felt a ways. So don't carry on like you didn't care for her, because you did. Anyway, that was that. So Audra and Nathaniel, they're off, table by themselves. And Nate's like, did you really have to do that? Did you really? And she's like, I just want to let him know that something's coming for him. And yeah, basically it's like payback. Audra, once again, I hate to break it to you, sweetheart. Victor is going to, he's just going to mop the floor with you. And when he is finished with you, whatever ironclad contract you think you have or with him, yeah. And even if it'll be something he could care less about, it can be easily disposed. He's not interested, so I don't know what to tell you. But all the best. Good luck with that. It's not going to go anywhere, just saying. And you're going to get yourself into a whole big mess. And you see, when she does whatever concerning Kyle, that will leave the room open for Claire and Holden, because he actually just got on contract. So he going to be around for a little while anyway. All right. So that was pretty much them. Who should we talk about? Well, let's see. Well, Victor, he and Michael, they're having a little conversation, at the club, at the house, whatever. And it's, of course, all to do with Jack and how there's going to be payback and hell to pay. And okay, here's my thing. Victor, I love you dearly. Like, you really, you intrigue me. However, you're a little annoying of late with your craziness. Like, everything is all things Jack. You are not managing your company, and it's all hands on deck, to the point where, if you saw, he has like an inside man at Jabot, who we saw this week. Can't remember his name, not important. But the point is that Kyle fished him out, sourced him, figured out that he was his name Elliot? That he was acting a little funny. And so he basically was like, you know what? We're going to smoke him out. So Kyle and Daddy Jack, they decide that they're going to have a meeting with this fella and basically get to the bottom of what's going on. So to the point where Kyle was like, he was like Rocky. Boom, 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 boom. And he was like, what are you doing? Tell the truth. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. And the guy's like, what's in it for me? Because he basically was like, he knows he's been caught. He knows it. So anyway, Kyle's like, tell us what his plan is. Tell us what Victor's plan is. And whatever. He's like, well, I want something for this. So Jack's like, don't worry. You will be highly compensated for your loyalty to us. So you are going to be our double agent. Oh, this is like Mission Impossible. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so this guy, toddles on, and, Kyle and Jack are like, yes, we did it. Kyle's feeling himself. He's like, yeah, I'm the man. I did it. And Jack's like, son, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Like, you really made me proud. Okay, Jack, tell us how you really feel. Okay, moving along. At some point in time, uh, Kyle, he ends up telling Claire all what's going on. Because she, once again, 20 questions Claire, decides to, oh, Kyle, what's going on? Like, you can't even tell me? No. You're a Newman. Why would he tell you? Okay, whatever. But he, like a puppy dog, he goes and says, blah, blah, blah. He's like verbal diarrhea, and he tells her, bad move, Junior. All right, so he tells Claire, eventually he tells Jack that he told Claire. Well, he fessed up that he told her, and Jack's like losing his noodle. And yeah, mess. And then Jack eventually tells Diane what's going on, and she's like, is this really worth it? Like, okay, tell me why Diane is the only one that has any sense. It never used to be this way, but she seems to be the only one that has some sense around here. Like, and to the point where she's like, I wonder how Victor would feel if we went after him and his company as hard as he's going after our company. Why don't you try if that's what makes you happy? Like, I'm confused. Again, Jack, listen to your wife. She is right in this respect. Stop. Go back to work. Do what you're supposed to do. And stop this Penny Annie stuff. And it's so Penny Annie that even Nikki is like, Victor, stop it. Stop it. They had an argument. And she was like, you don't want to own up to the fact that Jack saved my life. He didn't save your life. Blah, blah, blah. And I will not stop until he to his knees. Okay, have we not heard this before? Okay, and it only take for Victor, something to happen to him. Jack will get all soft, and this back and forth. I found it admirable a couple years ago when they were able to squash, their feud, if you will. Now it's back to hell bell rings. No. Okay, so that's pretty much where that's concerned. We saw Daniel, and I've got another prediction, and I think I may have mentioned it before, but if I didn't, it'll be brand new for you. It is what it is. So we saw Daniel with Phyllis, who seemed like she was high as a kite. They were at the club, and they were waiting for Billy. So Billy comes in, and basically Daniel is starting to second guess his decision by coming on board to Chancellor Communications. And Phyllis is like, oh, no. And yeah, basically that conversation did not fare well because he just up and left. So I don't know. Daniel, he's not interested anymore. And I think it really has a lot to do because he was wah regarding Heather and her death and how he's struggling to get through it. So once again, here's my prediction. If you saw the previews, I don't know where you are, but at least in Canada, if you saw the previews, what's to come is the fact that him and Tessa will be having a conversation. Now, to be honest with you, when I saw the preview, I was like, who's that girl? Whoa, I was like, Tessa, I forgot they changed her hair color. So she looked completely different. And whatever he says to her, I'm going to need your help. Tessa and Daniel, that could be interesting. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's a prediction. That would be interesting. Anywho, yeah, Phyllis ran off after him, and basically he was, saying his woes and why he doesn't think that he can do this anymore. Okay, fine. And she's like, I don't want to do it without you. You're my baby boy. You know, will she or will she not? I don't know. Whatever. I say, Phyllis, run for the hills. Billy is always a ticking time bomb. And Sally, you will realize this sooner than later. Did I like Sally's outfit? The kind of like studious, kind of, had a tie, but it wasn't tied. I think I did. But there was something with her hair seemed a little off. But I liked the outfit, so I'll give her that. Phyllis's dress at the ending of the week, she looked on point. That was a really nice dress. Give her that. Yeah, and Claire, that I think it was like two-tone brown, or was it brown and black? Can't remember. But when she was sitting at the table with Nikki and Victoria, that dress, that one she looked good in. And speaking of Nikki and Victoria, Claire basically said that she and Kyle may move in together. And Victoria is like, no, because your grandfather is going to like split his gasket, and no, I think you should wait. Whereas Nikki she's like rebel without a cause. I'm waiting for her to pop a leather jacket and be like, vroom, vroom, vroom. Because she's like, no, I think Claire, she should do what she feels right in her heart to do. And nobody should stop her. Well then, Nicole, good for you. Now, do I agree with Nikki? Absolutely. Because I think Victoria, she wants to, preach to the choir, if you will, but then next thing you know, she's doing something different. So, Claire, do you and be happy, whatever. But just so you know, things may not turn out the way that you want them to. I hope they do, as much as they like kind of bore me here and there. I just still prefer him with her over Summer, 100%. Yeah, who else was there? Well, again, back to Victor for a hot second. Michael has figured out that, the Abbotts are aware of the, what's going on. And he's like, we may need to do some damage control, that kind of thing. So be on the lookout for whatever damage control that they're going to come up with. Who knows? All right, we saw Abby. She came back. She's back on contract. Poor thing. Because remember, I was getting ready to, protest. Bring Abby. Where's Abby? She usually has the nicest fashions for the most part. Just saying. And so her and I guess little Dominic, which we didn't see, who's probably going to be big Dominic before you know it. He's going to be probably older than Christian, because has anybody seen Christian in the last few good years? I don't know. Haven't seen the boy. Apparently he's wherever with Nick and Sharon and yeah, wherever. I think they're in England or something like that. I believe so. But I don't know. It's, yeah, it's a mess. But thankfully, Abby is back to shed some light, if you will. And why it's a mess is because Lily, Miss High and Mighty, is all up in Damian's grill. And she asked him like to tell her the truth and the whole 9 yards about this Aristotle fella. And he basically was like, yeah, he doesn't exist. I know as much as you know about the guy, whatever. And she's like, wait, what? She questions him left, right, and center. Why would you work for somebody that, you don't really know? And, they could clearly see that you had no qualifications for the such positions. So didn't you think it's funny that they didn't ask you? Like, blah. He's like, I didn't think to ask. I didn't have like two pennies to rub together, so I did what I had to do. Like, do I blame him? Not one bit. But I hope you put some money in some offshore account, cause just in case. Just saying. So anyway, we all know, Lily, you fallen hard. You hear me? Hard for Damian. And Damian has made he has made it crystal clear. He has eyes for you. So Devon questioned her and was like, okay, you telling this guy things about your family, your personal business. What is up with that? Why would you do that when, like, last week you didn't trust him? Now all of a sudden and she, of course, she looks like she's guilty, guilty, guilty. And she, like, what? I didn't tell him everything. Like, I'm not stupid. Hate to break it to you, Lily. Not the wisest move. But whatever. So basically, Lily wants Damian to help her figure out who Aristotle is and all what he's up to. And Damian, because he is so love struck, he is going to follow her around like a little puppy. He's going to do it. So, I don't know. Again, this week was kind of sleepy, as I said. Not really much was going on. It seemed like, where you make things look busy, but it really wasn't busy. I don't know. I'm really hoping that next week will be a lot better. We're supposed to see what the changes of the Abbott Mansion will be. Oh gosh, if it's anything good, please, like I said, just go on over to Sharon's place, do some serious work, man, because that thing needs a refresh. Just saying. Well, there you have it, folks. That was pretty much the week. Again, if I happen to not mention something, it's because I really plumb forgot or it really just wasn't newsworthy. Tis what it is. But again, I'm hoping that next week will be much, much better. Fingers crossed. All right, guys. If you stayed around to the end of the video, I'm so grateful. I love you lots. And I really enjoy bringing this type of content for you. And I just love having you here. Hey, I laugh at my own self. This is what I do. So again, if you like this type of content, you like what you see, you like what you hear, it would be so great if you hit the like and subscribe button and hit the bell notification so that you don't miss a single video. And I will catch you on the next video. Hopefully, I'll see you next week. You take care. Bye.